הייתה יהודה לקודשו ישראל
for you, and I'm not coming up as someone who can stop me. I remember this, we've lost our host for a minute, so give us 1 second. I'm Spotlit, but I'm wondering, Simi, if you are open to reading what Melissa is trying to come back to us to read, or if I should do it.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, as is the case when Mercury goes out of retrograde. So let's be with the cosmos and go with the flow. My name is Simi, and I am a light-skinned Sephardic femme with dark brown curly hair, wearing a black shirt with orange earrings. And there is a door with an off-white sheet draped in the background. And I will read to you what Melissa would have said if she were here. And I'm sure she is very stressed out right now, trying to get back in the Zoom room. So imagine I'm Melissa. Welcome. My name is Melissa, and I'm the Spiritual and Cultural Life Manager of JVP. It's an honor to welcome you all here this afternoon and this evening. I hope that you all have this year's JVP Haggadah to accompany you during and after this Seder. If you haven't downloaded it, it is being dropped in the chat as we speak. It is hard to believe that 4 years ago, we were just figuring out how to have Passover on Zoom. How were we going to celebrate this home-based tradition across time zones and computer screens? We were washing our hands as Dory Midnight instructed and creating tiny pods of family and friends that would keep us safe from COVID. We are still not safe from COVID. We still wear masks, but now our pods are budding, organizing formations to end apartheid. And when we talk about safety, we say there is no Jewish safety in genocide. With rage and grief, we say, not in our name. You might have asked, why would Jewish Voice for Peace put energy at this moment into creating an anti-Zionist Haggadah and Seder? Because Passover is ours to own and to continuously define. To give up on this beloved tradition now would be to allow our rich thousands-year-old tradition to be co-opted for oppression. Israel is a mere 76-year-old state. And while the Israeli government purports to speak in the name of all Jews, and worse, uses Jewish traditions as weapons against Palestinians, we refuse. We reclaim our holiday of liberation as part of reclaiming the Jewishness and Judaism we love. We are marking our exodus from Zionism. We are fighting for a multiplicity of Jewish cultures, for the future of the Jewish people, and in solidarity with Palestinians, just as we fight for the future of all peoples. We have never been in a more narrow place. This Passover, we cannot hold Seder as usual. We are holding Seders in the street, at the universities, and here in this beloved virtual community. The meal cannot be festive while the people of Gaza are facing famine. The questions of liberation are not theoretical. This year's Jewish holiday of liberation urges every one of us to step up our commitment to the liberation of the Palestinian people. May our ancient tradition be of service to all of us in this sacred obligation. Chag Pesach Sameach.
Thank you so much, Simi, for stepping up and doing that. We are all sending our love and beaming our internet connection to Melissa, who put so much love and effort into this beautiful, beautiful event that we are all 500-600 of us at right now. My name is Ollie. I am a pale-skinned white trans person with mullet and a 5-panel baseball cap. I'm here to share with you that if you need support, and the phone is the best way for you to get support, you can call or text me. My number is 646-831-5457. We'll put that in the chat. Alternatively, you can chat, private chat anyone with the word tech in parentheses next to their name. We have some amazing tech folks with us tonight, as well as amazing interpreters who we're going to get introduced to very soon. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ollie, and thank you, Melissa, who, by the way, in their partnership, organized us all to be together tonight. So immense gratitude for the labor and the love that Ollie and Melissa both poured in to bringing us together. This is so incredibly special and important. That said, I'm wearing my Simi hat now. And welcome. I'm your MC tonight. I'm so excited to be here with you all. Technical difficulties and all, we're here to embrace the flaws, to embrace the beauty, to embrace the brokenness and the wholeness. And what better way to begin than with some chaos? So it is Man Cherutenu. It is the hour of our collective liberation. So Yalla, let's begin. Before I move onward, I want to give our deaf interpreter team a chance to do their visual access. So take it away, Susan.
This is Susan signing. I am a light-skinned Mexicana Jewish person with curly hair, black shirt, sitting in front of a gray background. And this is Hanta signing. My name is Hanta Williams. I am one of the deaf interpreters today. I'm sitting in front of a blue background. I'm a Black person, trans, with glasses, a short beard, a black polo shirt with tattoos on my forearms. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much to our deaf interpreter team, and for everyone here to know, we will be switching interpreters every 2 presenters. So let's all take a breath together to come into a unified field. You can feel maybe all of the places where your body is connected to a surface, and let's breathe in and out. And it cannot be overstated tonight when I say welcome. Welcome to JVP National's 2nd annual virtual Anti-Zionist Seder. We are so happy to gather together in community as anti-Zionist Jews to recommit to Palestinian and collective liberation this Pesach, this Passover. It is a blessing to come together and fulfill the ancient call of halach ma'anya in the Haggadah for all those in need to come together to celebrate Passover and recommit to liberation. Many of us here are not able to spend Passover with family this year because of ruptures in relationships or because of conversion. Many of us here have been bullied or harassed for not conforming to systems or communities that want us to think, feel, or act in ways that are not in integrity with our sense of justice and compassion. I want you to know that you are not alone, and you are welcome here with no expectation to conform to any specific way of being Jewish and on the left. You're also welcome to use the chat. Please use it with respect. It is a space for curiosity, kindness, and dignity, and anything else will not be accepted. Tonight's Seder is a multi-tendency space, meaning all of the people making offerings here are here deliberately because we want to hear from them. Whether it's Jews of color, secular Jews, queer Jews, Jews who worship the goddess, rabbis, Sephardi, Mizrahi, and Ashkenazi Jews, deaf and hard of hearing Jews, converts, observant Jews, we all believe in Palestinian and collective liberation, and we all oppose all forms of white supremacy, Jewish supremacy, settler colonialism, occupation, apartheid, and genocide. We each express our love and solidarity and Jewishness differently. So I invite us all to receive what each person is offering as a unique expression of the whole. And boy, do we have a lot to say this Pesach. And it is no surprise, given the massive uprising of the global Palestinian liberation movement alongside Israel's genocidal campaign in Gaza since October 7th. Our movement has been processing ongoing floods of grief and rage. And while it is important that we channel it into political action, it is also important that we come together and resource each other in connection, in beauty, and in our rich lineage as anti-Zionist Jews. That said, this Seder is packed, and we will be going over 2 hours with a hard stop at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern time. So I sincerely encourage you to take care of yourself. Take a dance break for freedom, meditate, stretch, beat a drum, eat, lay on the floor. We welcome you as you are, and it is my hope that in accepting where we are, that we can hold the enormity of this moment together. And there is incredible urgency in this moment. However, it is also our intention to include language justice access as much as possible and move slow tonight. You may see or hear the ASL interpreters briefly interrupt for clarification or to ask us to pause or slow down. You'll also notice us pause briefly between presenters to make sure we get the spotlighting right and that everyone's screen has time to adjust. You may want to use these transitions to reconnect with your body, to breathe, sing, or dance like Miriam the prophetess. Our pacing and practices tonight are what language justice looks like in real time and in action. This is what it takes to make space for all of our people to be included. It might take a little extra time, but we always have space and time to make for everyone to be included in our struggle for liberation. So we begin on page 7 of the Haggadah, and the link to the Haggadah will be shared copiously throughout the evening, as well as page numbers will be offered consistently throughout the evening. On page 7, we see Rabbi Rachel Bluth teaches that the Seder itself can be experienced through 4 modes of engaging or relating to the world: the intellectual, the emotional, physical, and spiritual. Each of us, no matter how we manifest or express our Jewishness, make meaning of life in all these worlds. In our context here as anti-Zionist Jews in a multi-tendency space, we can understand these modes of relating as the different ways we take action towards Palestinian and collective liberation. So let's journey together in our shared humanity on the path of wholeness mapped for us in the Pesach Seder. We begin with the intellect, associated with the element of air and the world of knowing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Devorah Rosenstein. I'm here with the Rooted in This World Network, a network of secular, rad, anti-Zionist Jews, and you can read more about us in the Haggadah. I'm reading from page 8. And I am a white Jewish person with brown hair up in a bun, and I'm wearing a black shirt with glasses. This opening was something that was going to be read by our comrade Leah Harris, who is at the GWU, George Washington Students Encampment right now. Kadesh. The first cup of wine traditionally holds the role of sanctifying the ritual and the space of the Seder itself. Reflecting on what this means within the context of ongoing genocide is difficult. It's not difficult to appreciate this community or how valuable it is to gather with other anti-Zionist Jews and comrades. The difficulty bubbles up when considering the meaning of sanctification. A common definition of sanctification is, quote, to set apart for special use or purpose. Many of us say that Gaza is ever present, and yet we know that as we witness, we are also quite separate from it, set apart. So the offer with this first cup is to reflect on this separation. Sarah Azizi, a Palestinian American, in her recent essay called The Work of Witness, shares, and I'm now quoting from her, rather, we, those outside of Palestine, watching events through a screen, ought to think of ourselves in relation to the legacy of the Shaheed. Now I'm stopping the quote. Melissa, in full wonderfulness, asked us to define this word. So we turn to Sarah Azizi, and her definition of the word shaheed is shaheed, meaning martyr, anoints the dead with honor. It hugs them like a shroud. It speaks perhaps to a force of spirit that transcends the breath of lungs. So I'll start back with the quote again. Ought to think of ourselves in relation to the legacy of the shaheed. Our work as witnesses is to be marked. We should not leave it unscathed. We must make an effort to stay with what we see, allowing ourselves to be cut. This wound is essential. Into this wound, imagination may pour, not to invade the other's subjectivity, but to awaken awe at the depth, privacy, and singularity of each life. There, we might glimpse, if sidelong, how much of Gaza's suffering we will never know. This is where real witness must begin, in mystery. Or, much better expressed in the words of my cousin, the pharmacist, Sarah's cousin, quote, I continue to insist, we have not gotten used to bombing, and we are afraid of everything happening to us. We have not gotten used to the sight of suffering. No, it always breaks our hearts. We have not gotten used to the massacres perpetrated by the occupation. No, for every martyr, there was a life. We can now drink the first cup of wine at this Seder, remembering every life. We now turn to Shahachianu on page 9 in the Haggadah. There is also a tradition after the first cup to say Shahachianu. Broken down, Shahachianu translates to, quote, we are alive. We are. And as of when we prepared this text, Bisan Auda is as well. On April 4th, she not only awoke to tell us this, as she does each day, but also introduced the poppy, the anemone coronaria, to share her joy of finding this wild red flower growing and at seeing green space for the first time in so many months. May we continue to witness and amplify the stories of comrades around the world who, like Bisan, are surviving and resisting amongst pain and flowers, bringing us to this moment. I will pass it to Rai.
Rai, I'm sitting in front of a white wall. I'm wearing a white thermal, glasses, I have visible neck tattoos and hand tattoos when you can see them. And I will be presenting the Seder plate. This year and the last few months of 2023 have been so full of emotion, energy, pain, and loss, and also excruciating and unimaginable death, that any gathering that seeks to be celebratory feels as though it laughs in the face of Palestinians whose every day is an ongoing, horrific genocide. The entire story of the Haggadah is contained in the Seder plate. Everything on it contains an aspect of Exodus. Our Seder plate may look different than the one you may be used to, and that is because our plate seeks to be inclusive of what a plate solely based in biblical tradition could never do. And that call for inclusion leads us to make a few additions. So while you may be familiar with bone zoro, the bitter maror, the mortar, haroset, the egg, bietzo, greens, Carpass, horseradish, sharin, these additions might be new to you. We add strawberries for Gaza, an olive, an orange, an acorn, a spoon, and garlic. And my addition to this plate this year and for this very special Seder is paper. And why paper? The state, the system, it wants for us to treat those who are incarcerated as if they were never before. Our neighbors, family members, teachers, teammates, community members, and leaders, as if they were never that. And one of the ways they do that is by making it as hard as possible for those who are incarcerated to communicate with and relate to the outside world. Prisons across the country employ book bans, seeking to make the worldview of those behind bars even smaller. And so I wanted to add paper this year to bring light to that darkness. Those who are incarcerated are often barred from receiving books. The Marshall Project has documented more than 50,000 records of publications dating back to the 1990s being banned by state prisons that censor materials that contain sexual context, reference to racial justice or other topics, and corrections that they deem inappropriate or threats to security. But free speech advocates and groups that promote reading in prisons say that increased crackdowns that limit who can mail books inside amount to harmful de facto book bans while doing little to help prevent deaths behind bars. It also made me think this year of how many folks we've been able to read and go back to time and time again from Palestine and their words and the impact that they have had and continue to have on this movement and in driving our work. We think of the absolutely incomparable political writings we have, from MLK's Birmingham letter in jail to Angela Davis's numerous writings, to Wally Duka, the Palestinian novelist and activist who died earlier this year in an Israeli prison after spending 38 years of his life behind bars. In those years, Walid would pen a number of books, including a children's novel and a number of essays, two of which, A Place Without a Door and Uncle Give Me a Cigarette, live on in infamy. The power of the pen, of paper, gives those that are incarcerated more than we could ever imagine. And in turn, they give us teachings, new worlds, new understandings of activism, how to live this life, and the unquestionable importance of human connection. May they all someday be free.
One second for the interpreter, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rai. My name is Rebecca Maria Goldschmidt. Chag Sameach, everyone. I am in front of a white wall that has Japanese calligraphy on it. and I have light blue glasses and curly short hair. And I'm going to be leading us in Urchatz, which is the first hand washing. So if you have your bowl of water and a pitcher, or bowl and pitcher, you can wash your hands while we're doing this. So I'm an artist and an organizer with Queer Mikvah Project, the Hiroshima Palestine Community Vigil, and JVP Hawaii. It's my honor to lead us in Urchatz from Hiroshima in Japan. Let's help each other in this hand washing ritual without a blessing. If you're in a group, the person to your left can hold the bowl, and the person to the right can pour the water over your hands. And in this way, we pass the water around the table, helping our neighbors in this symbolic purification. Today, we offer this first hand washing to the Palestinian people, land, and waters. 79 years ago, on August 6, 1945, Hiroshima and all of her rivers, mountains, and inhabitants were subjected to a horrendous technological experiment, the nuclear weapon. The US military obliterated both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the rivers here were clogged with thousands of bodies whose spirits are all still searching for respite from the fires and the radiation. Many thought that the land would be uninhabitable for at least 75 years. For the same 75 years, our Palestinian siblings have been suffering their own tragedy at the hands of the Zionist state made by our own relatives. As we witness this unimaginable suffering and bloodshed, we are here today to rededicate ourselves to Palestinian liberation. Palestinians have suffered their wells being poisoned or turned into mikvaot by settlers, their waters diverted and stolen, their water tanks shot and drained, and they continue to be deprived of our most vital life-giving necessity, water. Urchatz reminds us of our vulnerability, connectedness, and responsibility to each other. Washing our hands is a gesture of care. I share my name, Rebecca, Rivka, with my Queer Mikvah teacher, Rebecca Erev. In the Torah, Rebecca is the water bearer, drawing water from the well to offer to Eliezer and his camels, who have traveled a long distance through the desert. In Hiroshima, we stand before the atomic bomb dome along the river every night in solidarity with Palestine. There are very few Jews in Japan, and even fewer anti-Zionists. I can count us all on two hands. The two hands you're washing for me now. The two hands typing these words. The two hands of the woman photographing the blossoms. The two hands of the journalist maneuvering the camera. The two hands wiping the table. The two hands lifting the collapsed concrete. The two hands painting the banner. The two hands flipping the bread. The two hands in a PVC pipe in front of Lockheed Martin. The two hands gathering flour from the earth. The two hands assembling the robot. The two hands collecting the za'atar. The two hands filing the paperwork. The two hands operating in the dark. The one hand of ash in the rubble.
Please slow down.
Oh, sorry. The one hand ringing the bell. The one hand reaching. My mother's hands embroidering a watermelon. Let us give gratitude for this blessed water and bless the hands we have lost. Let this offering of water, this act of care, remind us of our tetheredness. Today, we honor our waters and all water protectors, from Gaza to the Galilee, from Hawaii to Pangasinan, from Fukushima to Taiwan, the Rhine to the Amazon. May all the waters of Palestine be liberated May all our waters of all our peoples be liberated. And may we liberate all our waters together, from the river to the sea. Free Palestine. Palestina kaiho. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Amen. Simi here, just very quickly. I want to remind our presenters to pause and breathe and settle before you begin your piece. This will give the interpreters a chance to switch. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Elliot Batsedek. I'm a light-skinned, round woman with extremely short gray hair that is dyed blue on top. Because in Jewish tradition, nothing is drunk or consumed without first being blessed. In my community, we bless the water and the salt before we dip the Carpass into the salt water. In tonight's sacred community, we cannot say water and not also Gaza, where Israeli apartheid had severely limited clean water for 2 million people for years, even before this horrendous campaign of utter destruction. We know that tonight in Gaza, people have almost no safe water to drink, to cook, to bathe their children, to mix formula or medicine, or to clean wounds. And so as we take our first sip of water for tonight, we say this blessing all together. Gaza, we will never forget you. We will never forsake you. We will never stop fighting for you until all of your people live safe and free. Salt. Our sage Alana Dykewoman teaches, I had a dream. I spilled a sack of salt in the road. No matter, my friends said, we don't need salt. But I remembered my grandmother sending me little burlap bags of salt from Florida. And I said, that's the trouble with us. Salt is an electrolyte. We need it to conduct electricity, the good feelings between us. No wonder we don't have the connections we need. We don't have enough salt. For this blessing, I will ask you to choose someone in the room, someone you know, someone you don't know. Type into the chat their name, followed by, you are the salt of the earth, pass it on. And as you're doing that, the blessing for the Carpass itself. Life as we know it on this planet exists because of a few inches of topsoil and reservoirs of fresh water. In our ancestors' days, deforestation created massive soil loss, and drought upended empires and civilizations. Some anthropologists believe the story of the expulsion from Eden is a cultural memory of the devastation that happened when forest was first clear-cut to grow wheat and barley, when an Eden gave way to floods, drought, and cyclical starvation. And so on this night, different from all other nights, we dip parsley, child of that razor-thin layer of topsoil, into salt water. This is not only for the sweat and tears of our ancestors in Mitzrayim, but also to know the taste of Gaza's drained and destroyed aquifer that is now filling with salt water. And because we're doing water, we once again say, Gaza, we will never forget you. We will never forsake you. We will never stop fighting for you until all of your people live safe and free. And the blessing, Brukat Shekinah, B'tochenu Ruach HaOlam, Boreit Peri HaAdamah. Blessed is the source of life, which brings forth the fruits of the earth.
My name is Rabbi Jessica Rosenberg. I'm a white person with curly brown and gray hair in front of a white wall with a photograph and some plants. We come to Yachatz, the breaking. This Pesach, when we come to Yachatz, what else is there to break? Our hearts are shattered. Our worlds are torn. Our faith and hope in pieces on the floor. We have witnessed so much death and destruction. We feel powerless, and it still continues. The violence goes on, and we break, and our broken pieces break, and we crumble. This Pesach, when we come to Yachatz, the breaking of the middle matzah, we have the opportunity to break with intention, to break what needs to be broken. We break the silence every day. We break through a thick layer of complacency. We break through all that keeps us frozen in fear, everything inside of us, and all that keeps us separate, all that comes between us. May this moment of ritual breaking be a time of creative, visionary, revolutionary breaking. You are invited to take the middle matzah. It wants to break. And break it in half. One half becomes the afikomen to hide away. We will later search for what remains. But with the other half, I want to invite you this year to break it again, in half again, and again. The systems of empire and domination that tell us to proceed as if nothing is wrong, we break their spells over us. The ideologies and oppressive institutions that want us to stay asleep, we break them. We break the stories limiting what we believe is possible. We let them all crumble. We offer them to the earth. We break what needs to be broken until all are free.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danny. I am a white woman with curly blonde hair and gold hoop earrings. This Passover, as we continue to grieve and rage at the Israeli military's genocide of Palestinians, we recommit ourselves to taking responsibility for our own community's complicity and to taking action together. That work to end the US's material complicity in apartheid, occupation, and genocide must, of course, include holding our local institutions accountable, and that organizing is happening on so many levels. And it also starts with taking responsibility for our own complicity in financially supporting the oppression of Palestinians. One basic step that we can take is to ensure that we and our families divest from genocide and apartheid and invest in freedom. Israel bonds are loans to the Israeli apartheid state. And following the Nakba, fundraising for Israel bonds in synagogues and Jewish community spaces has intentionally linked support for Israel with American Jewish life. The American Jewish custom of gifting Israel bonds for Jewish rites of passage, including coming of age ceremonies and weddings, has further tied Jewish religious in spiritual life with financial and political support for Israel. As anti-Zionist Jews, by personally divesting from Israel bonds and pledging not to buy them, we refuse to have our Jewishness linked to Zionism and support for such oppression and violence. So someone is going to put a link in the chat right now, which is a collective pledge to divest from Israeli apartheid and genocide and invest in freedom. And I'm going to read that pledge, and someone's going to put it in the chat, and you can take that. For many American Jews, tikkun olam, or repairing the world, is a sacred part of what it means to be Jewish. Generations of Jews all around the world have organized to dismantle the institutions and structures that sustain injustice, and worked as part of movements to grow something new, joyful, beautiful, and life-sustaining in their place. Aligning financial investments with our values is key to build the world we long to see. For decades, the Israeli government has justified its oppression of Palestinians by claiming the unconditional support of all Jews who live in the US. This includes asking our communities to invest financially in the Israeli government's war chest, currently being used for a genocide in Gaza. And at the same time, the Israeli and US governments have systematically repressed, criminalized, and limited the flow of resources into Palestinian-led organizing for freedom, justice, and equality. No longer, and we take this pledge together, I pledge to work towards repairing the world, including with my own investments. I will, if possible, redeem all vested Israel bonds. I will not purchase future Israel bonds. And I will invest in our movements for collective liberation, and especially in Palestinian-led organizing for justice, equality, and freedom for all in the region.
One moment for the interpreters.
Thank you, interpreter team. Hi, everyone. It's Simi. How are you doing? How are you feeling? I want to check in now. We are leaving the world of intellect. So I want to ask you some reflection questions that you can share with the people near you, or in the chat, or journal in your own personal space. But I'm curious, did you have any aha moments in this section of the Seder? What ideas resonated for you? Personally, I really appreciate what Danny just said and offered a very practical way of performing tikkun olam, which is a very big esoteric concept in Judaism. And we brought it down to earth in a way that you can actually practice tikkun olam, repairing the world, liberating our oneness from the fragmentation of systems of oppression by divesting from Israel bonds and investing in your community, in your city. Thank you, Danny. So we journey now to the emotional stage of the Seder associated with water and the world of feeling. Here we tell capital T, the capital S story, the story of our collective and personal narratives of enslavement and liberation. And please do take some moments to scroll through the chat, what people are sharing is very profound, and a lot of expression of appreciation, of gratitude, of upliftment and amazement. So please connect with what other people are expressing in the chat. So this is the point in the Seder where in my Sephardic Moroccan family, we would do the Bibhilu ritual. My dad, Zichrono Livracha, would walk around the Seder table, waving the Seder plate over the heads of each person there while chanting, Bibhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, to which everyone would respond, B'nei Chorin, in haste we left Egypt, a free people. My favorite parts of this ritual are its performativity and the anticipation that it creates. I remember watching as the Seder plate would make its way around the table until it finally made its way over my head. I would instinctively tilt my head back to look up at the bottom of the plate as if it were a natural wonder, like an eclipse. The cool shade, gentle and fleeting, created a brief moment of privacy, as if the great liberator was paying me personal attention under its canopy of peace. The Sephardic custom of arranging the Seder plate is based on the teachings of the Kabbalah. The mystical arrangement mirrors the 10 Sefirot, or the 10 channels of divine life force that make up the body of the infinite one, as represented by the tree of life. On the right column, we have the shank bone and charoset, which correspond with kindness and victory. On the left column, there's the egg and the celery with salt water, corresponding to strength and splendor. In the center column, we have bitter herbs and romaine lettuce, connected to beauty and foundation. The 3 matzot on top connect to the higher sacred attributes of understanding, wisdom, and crown. And the Seder plate itself relates to malchut, or manifestation. When arranged in this pattern, the Seder plate becomes, excuse me, a representation of the holy Shekhinah in our midst. Her presence over our heads is a blessing on our pilgrimage to the past.
The interpreter speaking. We're just asking for a second for clarification.
Yes.
Okay. We can resume. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Her presence over our heads is a blessing on our pilgrimage to the past, to stretch our capacity for empathy, connection, healing, creativity, and humility. In her midst, we are instantly connected to the sacredness of all life, for she teaches that in each of our hearts is a spark of the divine. I hear the Shekhinah whisper through intuition. I see her in the many ways that we show our love and solidarity with Palestinian freedom, the multitude of ways we love and express ourselves as Jewish people, and the ways we love and steward the land wherever we live and dwell. For decades, anti-Zionist Jews have been seeking and liberating the light of oneness from the fragmentation of ongoing Israeli genocide, occupation, and apartheid. The world we live in is bitterly torn and broken, yet it is the divine spark within each of us, layered with our collective memory of enslavement and liberation, that we call out now as free people, to say to all who are oppressed that liberation is possible. And it is perhaps with a painful irony this year that we recall that as in haste we were liberated, In haste, our oppressors too were overthrown. As I lead us in this ritual, I will call and you will respond. It will go something like this. Bivhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, to which you all will respond, B'nei Chorin. I will repeat the chant 4 times, and I encourage you to lift your Seder plate or any object above your head or the heads of those with you, above your camera if it's on, and especially above an empty space at your table that signifies Gaza, so that the Shekhinah may bless the land and people of Palestine with protection, nurturance, and strength, so that Palestinians may be a free people in their liberated homeland speedily in our days. Let us begin. Bivhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, B'nei Chorin. Bivhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, B'nei Chorin. Bivhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, B'nei Chorin. Bivhilu yatzanu mi Mitzrayim, a free people. May we all be blessed and transformed on our journey through the telling and the retelling of the story.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a light-skinned white man with short brown hair, brown eyes, and a short gray beard, wearing a black, red, and gray plaid shirt. I'm in a white-walled room with a bookcase to my right. Tonight, I am reading words offered by my friend Erin Moore Ellis, who could not be here this evening, and I am going to speak their words now. 4 questions for times of genocide. Tonight, our tradition invites us to ask questions. Tonight, I wonder what Pesach questions are fit for a time of genocide. We need questions that inspire transformative answers and liberative action in us and in our communities. Question 1, why is this Passover different from other Passovers? Genocide. The unique scale and devastating brutality of the current extreme escalation in Israeli state violence has murdered tens of thousands of Palestinians, still being counted, still being bombed, still being starved, still being murdered. At this very moment, Israeli forces are killing entire families and displacing countless others, now in a mass exodus from their homes, made refugees and ethnically cleansed en masse. Maybe the question is, why are Palestinians so different from Israelis, not even seen as human and deserving of basic resources? Food, water, housing, peace, security, human rights, and the right to life. Where is the world? Watching. Where are we? Question 2. Why do we eat bitter herbs, maror, on this Passover amidst genocide? This is a time for mourning, not celebration. White phosphorus, other chemicals and residue from bombs and bullets, tear gas and debris from destroyed buildings all pollute the air, water, and soil, pollute the earth, pollute Palestine, pollute us all. This toxicity renders all celebration bitter. This year, we do not celebrate our liberation, We mourn ongoing genocide in which we are intertwined. Through our tax dollars, our religious, cultural, and political institutions, our identities, our own stories of liberation. This genocide, this mourning, this bitterness will not end when Pesach ends. Maybe the question is, should we eat only bitter herbs maror until a permanent ceasefire? When a ceasefire comes, if a ceasefire comes, what will be left to celebrate then? Question 3. Why do we dip twice this Passover? Palestinians are starving and are gunned down waiting for flour. They are thirsty and do not have access to potable water. Adding salt to water is an insult in times of blockade, strategic and intentional famine plaguing Gaza, surrounded on all sides by borders and bombs and salt water. Can dipping twice manifest a deeply self-critical reflection on privilege? Can it inspire action to end the siege, to feed the hungry, to satiate the thirsty? If we dip twice to remind ourselves of our privilege, of our responsibility to Palestinians, rendered starving and thirsty in our name, then let us not stop dipping. Until Palestine is free, let us dip over and over again. Let us not forget our responsibility, our call to respond. Perhaps the salt becoming the sweat it will take to do the work. Dip repeatedly until Palestine is free. Question 4. Why do we use pillows and recline on Pesach during mass displacement? How can we recline while millions of Palestinians stand and sit and weep, prostrate outside their destroyed homes, when they experience forced migration, extreme housing insecurity, when there's no rest, no peace, no respite? Sorry, we're having a slight technical difficulty on this end. The page is jumping around. If someone's editing right now, thank you. How can we recline while millions of Palestinians stand and sit and weep, prostrate outside their destroyed homes, when they experience forced migration, extreme housing insecurity, when there's no rest, no peace, no respite for Palestinians in Palestine, in the so-called 48, or across the world as we watch on in horror? If we let our Passover amidst genocide be a triumphant celebration of our ancestral escape from slavery, our pride and joy will only underscore our deep shame. In fact, I'm moved to ask, does this year's Passover finally show that Pesach cannot be a collective celebration, but rather our collective acknowledgement of shame? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. We will now be taking a 10-minute break to give our deaf interpretation team and our captioners time to rest and fill up, and for all of us to rest and fill up. So use the bathroom, water a plant, breathe deeply, light a candle, and say a prayer for Gaza, and we'll meet back here. It is 8:13 my time, so we will meet back here at 8:23 Eastern time, and we can't wait to get back together.
Welcome back. My name is Rabbi Lynn, long hair. I'm an Ashkenazi white woman, been a rabbi for 51 years. And I come tonight in grief and hope. This Maggid is a telling to tell the story. I would like to begin with an image. It is written in the Torah, diverse multitudes left Mitzrayim, the place of narrows. Diverse multitudes resisted oppression together. Grassroots rabble-rousers made beautiful trouble inside the house of the oppressor. Defiant doulas refused to cooperate with the hands of death. They had their own life-saving plans for children. Diverse multitudes stood at Sinai. The Exodus story was never about one people. It was always about a universal common cause, pushing together against freedom's gate, shouting to the rest of the world, open, open the gates of freedom. Open the gates. Do you see us? We are human beings. Like the people of Gaza, watching their children die. The shores of the parting sea seem far away. They have already walked and walked like Mother Hajar, unjustly cast from her home who ran from place to place, seeking safety with her dying child in her arms, crying out. In the biblical story, Hagar, the divine, hears her cry. Water rises up from the ground underneath her feet, and the child drinks and lives. But in this hour of genocide, Israel has turned off the tap of life. There is no water to drink. There is no food to eat. There is no safe place to sleep. No sanitation, no medicine, no rest from the smell of death. While bombs continue to fall in our names, the mashchit, the destroyer, stalks the land, slaying the innocent. And no amount of blood on the door will protect the children of Gaza from the slayer. Israel has become a destroyer of worlds. This is the time to remember a Passover story our ancestors told. A young mother named Rachel, one of the poor Hebrews, forced to mix straw and mud to make bricks for the granaries of Pharaoh, which fed them not. As the coarse stubble pierced her heel, Rachel went into labor and bent over in pain. A taskmaster with a hard heart beat Rachel without mercy as the birth pang shook her body, and she cried out. The child fell in the mud. In that moment, defiant doulas pulled the child from the mud, cleared her lungs, and the child screamed her first breath of life. Shekhinah heard our cry, saw our affliction, our misery, our oppression, and freed us. Today, We are called to step into the task of defiant doulas who refuse to turn away from the cry of the people of Gaza. Tonight, we make holy the spirit of liberation intifada. Say it with me. Liberation intifada. Liberation intifada. Born in the desire to live like the prophet Miriam, we raise a defiant voice and unleash the roar of solidarity's thunder, loud as crashing waves upon the shores of liberation. We pledge our faithfulness to be samud. We will not rest in the journey toward freedom until Palestine is free from the river to the sea. Liberation, intifada, liberation, intifada, liberation, intifada.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rena. I'm a small, light-skinned woman with dark hair and eyes wearing a blue scarf printed with gold dandelions. I'll be reading a poem by Basman al-Dirawi, a Palestinian poet who spent his university years in Gaza. Al-Dirawi writes in his essay Gaza 2050, 3 scenarios, that liberation from the ongoing Nakba can only come in the form of one democratic Palestine, with full equal rights for Palestinians of all faiths and denominations. His poem on page 24 of our Haggadah is titled, "Don't Step on My Feet Again." Under the constant buzzing of drones, the roar of F-16s over my head, while I play hide and seek with peace, whispering, "Don't just be a break in between assaults." The electricity goes off, total darkness, while I dance with hope, whispering, "Don't step on my feet again." At the border crossing between earth and sky, I still stand for hours. My legs are shaking, the sweat all over my body. A voice inside my head whispering, "You're a full human, even if you feel like half." Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Liv Tunnins-Berkowitz. I'm a young white person with very curly hair, wearing a striped blue button-down. We are here together to hold each other in supporting our community in the exodus that this moment demands, an exodus from Zionism. And this requires having hard conversations and calling upon the Jewish institutions that raised us to do better, to call for a ceasefire, and to affirm their commitment to Palestinian life and freedom. In your Haggadah is a template for a letter that you might share with the Jewish institution that you care about, but has yet to advocate for a permanent ceasefire. It might be your local synagogue, your summer camp, or a community center. Or you might want to share this with a loved one who's wrestling with their relationship with Zionism. And please feel free to personalize this letter with your own story. We are here hoping to cross the sea, and we are committed to not leaving people behind. We will support our loved ones in learning Zionism, because this time it is all of us. So as we gather to tell our sacred story, to sing, to ask questions, we also take action together. And I would love to see commitments in the chat of who is able to send this letter during the remaining days of Passover. Thank you all.
My name is Nomi. I'm a fat, white, non-binary femme person with dark curls across my forehead and a bun. And I'm wearing a black dress and sitting in front of a tapestry of mountains. The 10 plagues of biblical times targeted the oppressors. As American Jews, those of us who are American Jews have been conscripted into the role of complicity with those oppressing, murdering, and destroying a people in their history. To accept this role is to sacrifice our own divinity. You can see a map on page 29 in the Haggadah of how I've mapped these spiritual plagues of genocidal Zionism onto the Kabbalistic tree of life. As we read them, we can ask ourselves, which of these plagues have impacted us? What have we lost? And what will it take to repair it? There is medicine in each sephira, each portal to the divine. Please refer to the Haggadah for an anointing ritual for connecting our bodies with the energies of each of these sacred portals. For now, I'm going to take a drop out of my wine for each plague and just put it on my heart. 1, loss of foundational connection to truth. How do we ground into connection with the earth, and what does it mean to do so? 2, loss of ability to trust our dreams. 3, loss of perspective. 4, loss of allies. 5, loss of humanity. With this plague, we lose our place in the human family, the interconnection and common destiny that we all share as inhabitants of this planet. When we attempt to place ourselves outside of and above others, we sacrifice our own humanity. This is such a core piece of the way that empire lives through us. I invite us to feel into our centers, corresponding to the Sephira of Tiferet, of beauty, awe, center. And it's the heart in connection with the Kishkis, working together to reaffirm our place in the human family, the weight of this pain as a shared human experience, and the tikkun that comes from loving through the pain. 6, loss of hope. 7, loss of empathy. 8, loss of clarity. 9, loss of wonder. And 10, soul loss. Those who've experienced all of these plagues without consciously unwinding them are lost to ourselves. When we experience these plagues, it's then possible to commit the gut-wrenching atrocities that we witness at the hands of Zionist soldiers. I invite us to bring attention to the tops of our heads. You might want to put your hand on top of your head and feel yourself, your value, your dignity, and your interconnection with all of creation. Let it filter down through you, connecting you to your roots and to the earth. I'm going to sit in here for Taya, who isn't able to be here, and share her song. This is the second class? Yeah, I think so.
1 second for the interpreter swap. Thank you.
So holding all of this pain and the possibility for reconnection, you are invited to bless or connect with the fruit of the vine in the ways that feel right to you. As we say, Dayenu, enough is enough, and there is always enough. As we work for Palestinian liberation, not in our name, a sacred incantation, may there be full end to genocide and occupation. Dayenu, Dayenu. Let us pray that it comes to be, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Dayenu, Dayenu.
Palestine will be free. Dayenu. Enough is enough, and there is enough. We are exiting the world of emotion, the world of feeling now. So let's check in with each other. How are you feeling? What emotions came up for you? There is great power in our emotions. In what ways did you feel empowered during this section of our Seder together? Please share in the chat with the people in your space or in a journal. And from the world of emotion, we enter now into the physical stage of our Seder, which is associated with the earth element and the world of doing.
Good evening, everyone. Ollie here again. At the start of our Seder, we washed our hands with Rebecca during Urchatz in a contemplative individual ritual cleansing. And now we're going to wash our hands with the traditional hand washing blessing for the practical purpose in this moment in the Seder of eating our Seder meal. As Lakota water protectors fighting against the Dakota Access Pipeline remind us at Standing Rock and every day, Nini Wakoni, water is our life. Our sacred rivers, tributaries, and oceans nourish the more than human world around us. And as humans, we are made of water. When we're growing, we're living in a bubble of water, of amniotic fluid that's holding us before we emerge into the world. And then as we walk around on planet Earth, our brains are floating in a cocoon of cerebrospinal fluid. Water holds our tears. And a human body can only live for about 3 days without drinking water. Water is our life. As we wash our hands now, we remember, as Elliot and others so beautifully shared with us, about the devastation of water theft as a key tactic of colonization in Palestine that is only worsening in this moment. And we remember that 3 people lose their lives worldwide protecting water and land sovereignty every week. We honor them. We raise our hands and wash our hands with the privilege of fresh running water as we say together the blessing that I will put in the chat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al nitilat yadayim. Blessed are you, Queen of the cosmos, Creator of water, who has sanctified us with stewardship and has directed us on the washing of hands.
Thank you, Ali. Hey everyone, my name is Felipe Ventura. I'm smiling, my background is a blurred green. My skin is brown, I have an afro, beard, mustache. I'm wearing a dark gray shirt and a red and white keffiyeh. And I'm honored to join you all to bless the Matzah. Matzah embodies the enduring spirit of liberation that breathes life into our world. Just as it nourished our ancestors fleeing slavery, today it calls us to witness and act in solidarity with all those who face oppression and resist colonization, all those who resist empire in Palestine and in all unceded and occupied lands. This Pesach, when I see matzah, I see the victims of the Flower Massacre who were executed while they searched for a way to ease their starvation. I see all the children, parents, elders, medical personnel, all the people found in mass graves this week, just as Pesach started. The hundreds on earth joining the tens of thousands executed in this genocide. Here, near me, I remember the vigil held on Purim for Ryan Gaynor, a Black autistic 15-year-old boy shot by police as he was holding a gardening tool just above his head. My heart breaks irreparably, mourning them all, their lives extinguished, their futures uprooted by state violence. All of them people who lived, breathed, loved, laughed, cultivated joy. May their memory continue being a revolution. There's a verse in Shemot, Exodus, that mentions observing the Matzot for all generations to eternity. I noticed the similarity between how it's written, how it can be read matzot or mitzvot. And I look at the root of matzah. It comes from the verb matzatz, and that means to press, to drain. And it's frequently used in reference to stopping a wound from bleeding. And in this case, it's used to knead something so much that you make nourishment out of it. I think to myself, what are my personal commitments to liberation? And how am I approaching them for myself, for my children, for my family, for my community, and for future generations to eternity? My mind takes me to Land Day. I'm with my children on the asphalt of a parking lot in Huichin, in so-called Berkeley, in so-called California, commemorating all land defenders here on Turtle Island all the way to Palestine. More children run around as twilight approaches. Beneath us is the earliest known sacred site of the Lisjan Ohlone people, the original land stewards of where I am. And the words that evening float passionately above us. Decades of resistance and solidarity brought back the shell mound to its original land stewards. And in that moment, I see an opening, just as I see it today with all the university encampments that are sprouting in solidarity with Gaza. And just as I've seen it the past couple of months as we struggle in solidarity with Palestine. Today, those are all portals to our collective and liberated futures that we are making real together. So let's say a blessing. I have a piece of matzah in front of me. Brucha at ya Eloheinu ruach haolam hamatziyah lehem min haaretz. Blessed are you, Spirit of the world, who brings forth bread from the earth. Brucha at ya Eloheinu ruach haolam asher kishatnu bimitzvoteha ve'tzivatnu al ahilat matzah. Blessed are you, Spirit of the world, who makes us holy with her commandments and commands us to eat matzah. Que viva Palestina libre.
Thank you, Felipe. I was asked to read the next section of our Seder, which is on page 36 in our Haggadah. And I am Rebecca. I have light brown skin. I have curly hair in a bun, and I'm wearing a sort of tennis green sweatshirt. So for the words of my fellows, this Pesach, you are invited to combine the truly bitter greens of maror with a new introduction to the Seder plate, tzamor, a spicy, fiery element. Join me in integrating remembrance and clarity, grief and action, the sharp sadness of maror with the enlivening power of tzamor. We need both bitterness and heat this year, because in the midst of the continued siege on Gaza, in the ongoing fear of hostages unreturned, with the devastation of displacement, disease, and famine, as we witness the atrocity of complacency, with the excruciating upheaval of it all, we must dwell with the bitter grief of calamity while feeling the heated urgency of action. The full version of Shula Pesach's beautiful prayer, which I'm about to read, is found on page 36. And you may join in the refrain. May it be so, and so it is. So this is Shula's prayer. We place these hearts firmly and gently on the nightmare. We recall this year's bitterness, bondage, bombs, an utter betrayal of care, compassion contained within borders. We taste the sharpness of lives lost and dreams deferred. But we twine such despair with dedication. Empty, speechless, afraid, our numbness, our ache is bound up in strength with clarity, a readiness for not just ceasefire, but freedom, flourishing, return, repair. May it be so. Embittered and inspired, let this sharp sadness, the potency of our lament, turn to power and motivate us. Grief become a fever of insistence on life. May it be so. Bricks and rubble, collapsed concrete, ruins reforged into flint. Our grief a fire starter. We tend the embers of resistance with tears as fuel. May it be so. Grief become a fever of insistence on life. And so it is.
Hello, everyone. If you would like to do Hallel sandwich, it is in your Haggadah near page 35-ish. For the sake of time, we are going to move on to Shulchan Orech, setting the table. We will not feast this year. We pledge not to feast when there is famine. This Passover, we are crying out in the loudest terms possible. We cannot observe this night like all other nights. We cannot, in good conscience, sit down to enjoy festive Seder meals as a state acting in the name of the Jewish people is weaponizing starvation against the Palestinian people. We will not be complicit in genocide. We will not be complicit in genocide. In the Passover Seder, the section in which the meal is served is known as Shulchan Orech. We invite all those who are hosting Seders this year in your last days after Chol HaMoed, after the middle days, to join Jewish Fast for Gaza, JVP, and if not now, in this pledge that we will put in the chat. This year, we will not fulfill the requirement of Shulchan Orech at our Seders by eating a festive meal while the weaponized starvation of the Palestinian people is taking place. Instead of eating, we can fill our souls with the words of Palestinians and take action.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elle, Susie, and my visual description is that I am a Jewish, deaf, white, non-binary person with short brown hair, brown hair over my shoulders, using a black shirt with an orange scarf over my chest, and a plain background, and a small plant on my side. Today, I will share a poem with you. The name of this poem is If I Must Die, by Rifat Alarir. Rifat was killed in an assassination bombing on December 6th, 2023. I will begin. If I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad, who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself. Seize the kite, my kite you made, flying above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. Thank you.
Sorry. Earlier together, sorry, I'm just taking a breath from that. Thank you so much, Elle. Earlier together, we pledged to break the bonds together and divest from the oppression of Palestinians. And now, how should we invest together? As we give to organizations in the movement for Palestinian freedom, we offer some considerations for how to invest with the greatest impact. For decades, Palestinian organizing has been structurally and systematically under-resourced, criminalized, and repressed. So here at Passover, as we're thinking about how we recommit ourselves to Palestinian liberation, we share some considerations about how to give in a way that breaks down those structural barriers. Number one, give to Palestinian-led organizations, both on the ground and in the US. Number two, give as much as you can. Number three, give without conditions so that we can make gifts towards general operating expenses of organizations rather than with pre-existing conditions or prescriptions so that organizations can advance their strategy. And number four, notice and challenge gatekeeping. As donors, consider seeking out and learning about new Palestinian-led organizations. And if we find out about organizations from mainstream media or through philanthropic sources, consider the anti-Palestinian bias or political litmus tests that might influence the organizations that we've heard about. I'll pass it to Melissa.
Hello. Can you find me?
Hi, Melissa. Simi here.
Hi, Simi.
One moment.
There I am.
Yeah. I just wanted to hop on and time check everyone so we're on the same page. It is 9 or 10 after the hour, and we are committed to ending at 9:30. So we will close when we close. And it is actually a reflection of our work never ending. We actually don't ever end our activism and our solidarity work. So it is quite appropriate that we end when we end and move on to continue doing our righteous activism. To you, Melissa.
Thank you, Simi. Hello, everyone. I am so glad you are all here. Thank you. So, a quick description. I'm actually a short woman wearing not in our name long brown hair and a Palestine flag in the background. As part of the indoctrination of American Jews into the Zionist settler colonial project, the Jewish National Fund, JNF, engaged the imagination and yearning of Jews in the diaspora. That's us. With Tzedakah charity boxes. The JNF supplied even the most humble of Jewish homes with small tin blue boxes to put their extra coins
towards planting trees in the new Jewish state of Israel. What the JNF didn't say is that they, the JNF, were systematically buying Palestinian lands, in many cases, tricking and stealing and bullying the owners into selling, and that the trees were being planted were neither indigenous to the land nor necessary, but rather were being used to cover up Palestinian towns that had been razed. They had been raised by Israeli military and settlers. This Passover, we are reclaiming and reinventing that little blue box with a tikkun olam box, repairing the world box. Divest from Israel bonds, invest in Palestine. So in your Haggadah, there is a template. It looks like this. And then you cut it out, you trace it, cut it out, and paint it. It'll look like this. And then fold it up, and it'll look like this. The first of the 4 principles of divesting are written around the little box. I pledge to work towards repairing the world, including with my own investments. You can open the box and put your coins and bills and checks and notes to self about how you will invest in Palestine. And then put it at eye level somewhere, maybe in a window or on an altar, which is a place to remember your highest purpose.
Hi, everyone. My name is Em. I am a white-skinned person with short, dark hair. I'm wearing a dark button-up and have a gray wall behind me. We finally made it to the end of the meal portion of the Seder, to Tzafun. You can follow along on page number 49 in the Haggadah. Tzafun is the section of the Seder where we search for the hidden, Tzafun, afikomen, and reunite it with its broken half, or tonight, its many, many broken halves. There is both an expansion and a distillation that occurs with searching. Expansion because we see and discover new things we weren't expecting, while also a distillation as we hone in on what it is that we are searching for. When thinking about the act of searching, our minds may go to the hundreds of thousands of Gazans searching for family members, friends, and colleagues buried beneath rubble, to the millions of Gazans displaced from their homes, searching for somewhere safe to be. What are each of us searching for and uncovering in our commitment to Palestinian liberation? Our search and uncovering tonight and past tonight might then be around the question of what it means to be Jewish and embody Jewishness beyond Zionism. We will spend a couple minutes and I invite you to reflect on these questions for the rest of Pesach, answering the two following questions. What are pieces of history and ideas for the future that you draw from when imagining our collective Jewishness beyond Zionism is the first one. And the second question is, what is something that you'd like to reflect on further from tonight's Seder? You can put your answers in the chat or think about this with those in your life. And I think for time's sake, I will pass it to Simi.
Thank you, Em. I want to repeat and reiterate Em's questions out loud again. What are pieces of history and ideas for the future that you draw from when imagining our collective Jewishness beyond Zionism? What is something that you'd like to reflect on further from tonight's Seder? We would love to hear from you in the chat or in future correspondence upon further reflection, because it is on all of us to move together to co-create a Judaism beyond Zionism. And with that, we now bid adieu to the world of, what world are we leaving in? We're leaving the world, the physical world. We're leaving Earth. And we're going into the world of spirituality. We're going into the world of being. So with that, I will pass it on to Devoiri for our third cup of wine.
Thanks so much. And I'm going to, for the sake of time, pass it along to others. I hope you all can read what is in the Haggadah for the third cup. If you want to hold up your glasses, this is a l'chaim to the workers all over the world as we're approaching May Day, and especially the workers in Gaza, the West Bank, and throughout occupied Palestine. L'chaim.
Thank you all. I'm Rebecca again, and I was going to be leading us for the blessing that comes after the meal, which is a moment for gratitude and receiving the nourishment. And in light of all of those in Gaza being starved and all of those starving all over the world, I was offering us instead a prayer for humanity, to remind ourselves of the many things that make us human, and thanking everybody for doing their part. I'm going to skip the reading and just do the visualization at the end so we can get even a little more of our Seder. So after this prayer, I was going to invite everybody. I invite everyone now to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. Maybe just move around a little, feel yourself relaxing your body, and breathe in. Close your eyes if you wish. And I invite you to think of the most beautiful thing you can imagine. And now think of something even more beautiful than that. And you're envisioning something, and I want you to feel the feeling, the sensations connected to that visualization. And I want you to radiate those feelings and that image out, sending it wherever it needs to go, to whomever needs it in this moment. And feel free to share any words or images or sensations that have come up for you in the chat, so we can resonate these images together. And I will say next year, in the further embodiment of our collective dream. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. And people are putting it in. Keep it coming. The trees, the hope, the justice, the Pink Floyd concert, the sunsets for me. Beautiful. A free Palestine, the vast ocean. Beautiful. Please take all of these in. Beautiful. Deep velvet. Gorgeous. I'll pass.
Hi, I'm Rosa. I'm going to bring us into Hallel with the fourth cup of wine. I'm a pale-skinned person with long graying hair, rimless cat-eye glasses, and dangly earrings in front of a birch grove backdrop that says in Yiddish, Yiddishists of Palestine. As we head towards the end of the Seder and further into the ongoing Nakba, we ask, is this a holiday of liberation? Can this be a holiday of liberation when it rests on the fantasy of a divine land grant and colonial project of the conquest of Canaan, when the story it tells feeds the genocide? Can this be a holiday of liberation when even progressive Haggadahs depict the mass slaughter of children as, quote, an escalation of tactics? Can this be a holiday of liberation when the mighty hand and outstretched arm that supposedly bring freedom are the same force that 10 times over prevents escape from the narrow place through plague, environmental devastation, and massacre? None of these are incidental details that can be reinterpreted away. Removing 10 drops does not make a full glass of wine into less of a celebration. It just provides the thinnest of emotional alibis. These genocide warrants, these celebrations of genocide, these acts that enable comfort with genocide are the core of the story. Hallel sums up the message in the prayer that accompanies the opening of the door. Here is what the holiday asks the divine to do to entire peoples defined as enemy. In their tents, let there be no dweller. Let them be as chaff before the wind. Give them a bereaving womb and dry breasts. You shall break them with an iron rod. Like a potter's vessel, you shall shatter them. May their table before them become a trap, and their hope for peace a snare. We know these details. They're Rafah, Khan Yunis, Al-Shifra Hospital, Nasser Hospital, Al-Khalil, Al-Quds, Deir Yassin, Kibbia, Susia, Sheikh Jarrah. They're part of this holiday's songs of celebration. So this is a fourth cup of 4 questions for us to carry home. What in this story can we keep? What does not endorse, enable, praise, justify, or demand genocide? What in this story should we discard completely and cease to include in any way within our practices? What in this story do we need to set aside but continue to name in our practice so that we don't forget the complexity of our rituals, histories, and contexts? And finally, what would it look like to create a Jewish liberation holiday that is not wrapped around genocide warrants and theocratic state building? A liberation holiday that doesn't trade other people's freedom, other people's lives, in Mitzrayim, in Canaan, in Shushan, in the Greek-speaking Jewish world the Maccabees sought to annihilate, in Palestine, for those of some self-appointed, hectured, pure set of us. We don't yet have them, and we should.
All right, my friends, my family, my community, we are coming to a close. And as we do, I would like to ask you all, how do you experience oneness? What ideas or what expressions tonight transcended division? Please share in the chat. I would love to share with everyone here how you're feeling, how you are rising above the chaos of these troubling times, how you are moving through the absolute grief and heaviness of genocide, of occupation, apartheid, and oppression. Being in community with you all brings folks into oneness. Diverse multitudes. Wow, it's coming in hot. Personal oneness. Oh, okay, it's moving too fast. I'm not gonna try, but please scroll through in these final moments that we have together. And I want to reflect the constant scroll of beauty that I have been witnessing in the chat and among our presenters. The immense gratitude that has been expressed from folks for whom this is their first Seder this year, for folks who felt alienated at the other Seders that they've been to and finally found a place to relax and to connect this Pesach. In another context, Pesach could have been disingenuous this year. But as anti-Zionist Jews, we see the power of the story. We see the power of gathering together in ritual around a story, honoring it, and also dismantling the trauma within it, healing from the trauma within it. By coming together, raising our voices, and being fearless together, not with a singular voice, but with a chorus of voices that say, cease fire now. End the siege on Gaza, not in our name. May we enjoy these transitions out and be together on the other side. Peace and blessings.
Memory of those we have lost, gunned down by racist beliefs, killed by a spreading disease. At times it could seem hopeless in a world struggling to breathe, to march and to sing for our future.
Thank you, friends, for being here. Thank you to every one of the people who are not able to share. You will be sharing soon. We will find a way. We love you. And we are so honored to be in community with all of you. Join us on the streets. Join us at JVP Power Half Hours. Join us in your chapters, in your pods. Let's make this happen.